Hello. I guess this is like my sign on now. I'm just doing this before I start talking every week. I really like it. Fiction is really nice. It's one of those things that like is like a nervous system regulator a little bit. Like it's a snow globe settler. That's how I feel. So there are a lot of things that are that for me, and I always forget about a lot of them. Other things that are snow globe settlers for me are drinking a bunch of water, crying. That's always helpful. Helps me settle all the atoms in myself. Um, just laying there and not doing anything, not trying not to think about anything, just focusing on my breathing. That's a snow globe settler. But also the opposite, like doing a plank or like going sprinting for a minute, doing jumping jacks or something to get the muscles moving. That helps so that afterwards, after you're done with it and your blood is slowing down a little bit, your snow globe kind of settles a little bit. Um, Sometimes we need those in our lives and we need to get into the practice of them. Because depending on your internal environment and your external environment, singing and just living in general is going to feel different based on what state your body is in, right? So, this is why we talk about the nervous system. It's why we talk about what's going on in the mind before we talk about technique. Not always before, sometimes alongside and after, um, because it's so important. Like, you wouldn't expect a child to be able to like go do their homework right after they wake up, right? Their brain is not fully awake yet. You wouldn't expect somebody who is like a marathon runner to just go sprint after a marathon run, right? Like it really makes, we have to bring everything into context based on our environment. And so if your nervous system is in this heightened state, or if you're like coming out of a sleep state, or something, like we can't expect ourselves to be at our highest 100% right out of the gate. Um, and so often we do that. We expect ourselves to be at our peak level all of the time without thinking about the context of you and your body and your energy levels and how much vocalizing you've done that day. Like, that's a very important thing to think about. And so often we come into our singing practice and we expect ourselves to be belting the high notes and doing those runs perfectly and all of that. But what if you have a very talky job and you've been talking and yelling all day? Like, if your voice is tired, you can't get mad at it for that, you know? But so many of us do that. We come into our singing practice, we maybe do a warm up, if anything, and then we try the song that we're working on, and then, oh man, it doesn't sound right. Okay, well, let's look at what was happening just before this. Did you warm up to belting practice, or did you just do a little measly little teeny warm up, and barely move your vocal folds, barely stretch anything? Or are you doing it right after a nap or something, you know? Or have you had just a very stressful week? Has your nervous system been like really triggered? Have you been in a heightened state all week? Because that's going to affect how you approach whatever song you're about to sing. If you are coming at singing from this heightened place, from a nervous system dysregulation, which guaranteed all performing, you're going to be a little dysregulated. But we're talking about practice situations right now, mostly. Like, if you're coming to your singing practice in a state of stress, in a state of overwhelm and just tired, or like you just had a conflict or something and you're a little shaky or something, like your body is not in the same state biologically that you were before, or like, you know, when you're in a more relaxed state. So like if you are super calm and chill like an hour after lunch, and that's usually when you practice, great. If you're trying to practice all of a sudden right when you wake up, that's a very different environment for your voice to be in, right? And because we have the only instrument that lives inside the body, we unfortunately have to think about these things, right? Like, so a lot of times we come at it expecting it to be like a piano, like we just sit down and play it and it should sound the same every single time because it's just a button that you push. But our instrument is not like a piano, unfortunately. Like, we have a lot more layers to think about and a lot more preparation and environmental factors to think about. And honestly, this is why so many people give up on their voice, because they expect it to be the same every single time. And when it's not, it's like, well, I don't know how to sing, right? They just chalk it up to, I'm not good at this. Um, I messed that note up. I must not be able to be a singer, right? And that is unfortunate, because we have to come at singing from a place of giving ourselves the best possible environment to sing from. So, for example, I'll give you a very personal example. I do this constantly, and I need to remind myself to do it. So, like, my first lesson of the day, I always forget to warm up before it. Not remembering that I actually have to sing too when these people are singing, because I have to give them examples, right? And so I'll come into my first lesson of the day, and of course, my first lesson of the day today was mixing and belting and a rock song. And so I was trying to hit this note, and I was like, all right, I guess I am showing what not to do today instead of the what to do. So my first example of it was like, oh, nope, see, look, I pulled too much chest voice. Oh, look, see, I was too much in my head voice. And then together we found what the mixy place should be, because it is a mixing of two muscle groups. But both of my muscle groups were not ready to go yet. So I wasn't giving my voice the best environment and the best preparation to do what I needed it to do. And I forget that sometimes as a vocal coach. But as a singer, I almost always make myself warm up before I sing. It's just how we perceive these things. And honestly, I forget, that some of my singers are practicing belting and I'm going to have to be right there with them. And so if you're in this place of, like, you keep saying to yourself, like, okay, every time I sing this, it feels different. Or every time I sing this one phrase or one note, it doesn't sound how they sounded, the original singer. It doesn't have the tone that I want it to. Let's think about, okay, number one, what part of the day are you in? Right? Have you been talking at all? Have you been talking too much? Did you warm up at all? Where is your nervous system? Not just where is your mechanical voice, but also where is your nervous system? Like, have you had a stressful day? Because when you've had a stressful day and your nervous system's constantly being bombarded and shrapnel being thrown at you, you're going to be heightened and you're going to be tighter than usual, and you're going to be probably inflamed a little bit more. And your body, your hearing is going to be different. Your whole mechanism, how you feel things and how you interpret your voice, how you hear your own voice, how you hear other sounds, how you give yourself feedback from your voice to your ear, that's all going to feel very different. Are you slightly under the weather? Do you have allergies? Is there phlegm? All of these things play into this, right? Is this a new song that you're just starting to learn, and why are you expecting yourself to be singing like the recording on your first couple times through it? Or is this a song that you've done to death and you're burnt out on it, right? All of those things could also be a part of how you approach it and the environment that you're giving to your voice in this moment. So all this is to say, make sure you are giving yourself the grace that you need in these moments, so that every time you come to your vocal practice, it doesn't end with frustration and giving up because you didn't think about what your voice needed before you came to your singing practice. And this is a big example of how we get in our own way. We as a society, have been told that singing is something you just have or you don't, right? Like you're born with it. We hear a lot like, oh, that Celine Dion, she was just born with it, right? Um, but no, she has done all of this work many times over, many years of vocal lessons, many years of training, many years of performing, many years of building up her nervous system, training her nervous system, and her voice and her mind to be in a place where she can laugh at herself on stage if she messes up. She, probably, I don't know her personally, but if I were to guess, she's such a resilient singer that she has been in situations where she knew that she shouldn't have been singing and she took a rest day, right? Or she knew that she shouldn't go for this belty note and mix it instead. And so it's those choices that have to come before you sing. And they have to come before you sing because we're looking for a sustainable career. We're not just looking for that one big moment, one time on a video. We're looking for making sure that we can continue singing for the rest of our lives, healthfully, comfortably, resiliently, so that we don't, number one, injure ourselves, because that's a very important thing too. Like if you're coming at your singing practice from a place of you just woke up, you continually come at singing without warming up, you continually try and belt things, and you feel like you're overdoing it, you probably are overdoing it. And so that is a huge deal, just mechanically. Like you have to warm up your instrument before you do anything. Like your body can't just fall into these states of perfect, ringing, beautiful voice, right? You have to warm up into it because we are muscles and we are human and we are not piano keys. And then we have to remind ourselves, like, where is my mind? How is my voice being driven? What kind of a mind is driving my voice today? Is it an already frustrated, already overworked, overtired mind? No wonder I can't hit that note because I am already in a place of overstimulation. I am not fully prepared to do this nuanced work right now. Maybe I should go take a nap first and then come back to it. So we have to think about all the layers of ourselves as humans in order to get the results that we're looking for. And I say this because I've seen so many people, myself included, I have this inkling sometimes when I don't get the rest I need, when I don't warm up, when I don't take the preparations that I know I need to make the sounds that I want to make, I get frustrated. I get really sad and angry with myself that I can't just be where I want to be already, dang it. And then I give up, right? I have these moments of like, I'm just never going to sing in front of anybody ever again, and that's not the place where I want to end up. And that's not a place where I want to keep coming back to. So now, even though it's sometimes a pain in the butt to warm up fully, warm up smartly, every time I sing, and not try and push things that I know my body and my mind is not in the right place for, it took me a long time to fully come to terms with the fact that I have to do that now. I'm not 17 anymore. I can't just show up and do whatever I want, right? I can't, I'm not that resilient anymore. I'm getting older. So, and also this has nothing really to do with age. It's just us as humans, right? Like little kids lose their voices sometimes too, right? It's just how we perceive it, how we come into the situation, what environment we're giving to our voice and our mind and our nervous system. Like we have to think about the environment that we're giving our nervous system to. The nervous system isn't just the environment for your voice. Your nervous system is you, is your soul, like how you show up in the world. Hey, how you doing? And so you have to give your nervous system a good environment as well. And you have to give your mind a good environment as well. Like when I'm in like an angry place, like if I'm hangry or if I have been like overdoing it, over pushing something, and I get really frustrated, like, why is that note not coming out how I want it to? My answer is always, okay, take a step back, go take care of yourself, go drink some water, go take a nap, whatever you need to do to remind your body and your brain that this is not the end of the world right now, right? I tend to do that with myself. I'm a fighter. In the fight, flight, freeze thing, I go for a fight all of a sudden, and so I'm all of a sudden hitting a wall, and I'm like, why can't I do this? And then I have to step back and remind myself, oh yeah, because I went too hard, as I always do. And I didn't take the rest for myself. I didn't prepare myself fully and efficiently for this singing practice that I wanted to do, or this performance, or whatever it may be. And so a lot of that is giving yourself more grace than we are used to giving ourselves, than society has taught us to give ourselves, especially around being creative and artistic, because of the fact that we have put so much weight on the talent, the natural bornness of it all, right? So if you show up continually from a place of exhaustion in an environment that doesn't lend itself well to this nuanced work that singing is, of growth, the messages that you're giving your own mind are, you can't do this. It's too much for you. You're not good enough. Well, guess what? Guess why you're not good enough? Because you didn't give yourself all the tools that you needed to be good enough. Maybe if you did, you would show up a little differently, and maybe you could do something, but you weren't willing to give yourself that space, that extra forethought before you came into this practice session. And so the evidence that you're getting is negative evidence that you can't do the thing. And that's what your nervous system takes and doubles down on. It's like, oh yeah, remember that last time you couldn't do a thing? Yeah, you should probably not ever try that again, because you can't do it. You're not talented. You just can't, I don't know. That's just my gremlin. I know a lot of other people have different gremlin voices in their head, but it really is just like data entry, right? If you're giving your nervous system only data from when you are not prepared, from when you are not warmed up, from when you are not stretched out, from when you are forcing too much, that's what your nervous system's going to remember. And it's going to tighten up and be like, oh God, this didn't go well last time, right? And so you're going to get yourself in a negative feedback loop, right? Oh, thank you for that validation. I'm glad. And so how we get out of that is say, okay, maybe I notice this, I write it down in my journal. Next time I go to sing, I'm going to ask myself 3 questions. How is my body feeling? How is my mind feeling? How's my nervous system feeling? Those are very important things to ask yourself. And if any of those are less than like 70%, maybe you should go take care of that first before you try and force yourself into a creative endeavor and you're just going to get into the weeds and frustrate yourself and dig yourself a hole in the ground. So maybe you go take care of yourself, maybe you go eat, maybe you go drink water, whatever you need that day, and you come back. And maybe things go a little differently. Maybe you can hit that high note that you've been trying to get. Maybe it's not every time, but maybe it's once or twice. And all of a sudden, the data starts to shift. All of a sudden, you've given yourself 1 or 2 little pieces of evidence that you can do the thing if you prepare yourself in the right way, if you give yourself the best environment to do that thing. This is something I think we forget as adults. Like, you know how when we were in school and we had to take those like tests, standardized tests, and we were really excited because we got free breakfast that day, right? That was the school knowing that in order for our brains to do what they wanted them to do, they had to feed them, right? And it's not a great example because I'm not a huge fan of standardized tests in general for anything, but that's the idea. Like, you've got to make sure you get a good night's sleep, make sure you feed yourself, make sure you get enough water. You got to take care of your body and your mind and your nervous system, because it's all a part of what makes up your voice. Like, unfortunately, we don't have a piano to play inside of ourselves. That just works the same way every time. That's just not what being human is, and that's not what our instrument is. So we have to take a couple grains of salt with it, and it just takes one time of making a different choice for yourself, and then all of a sudden you'll find yourself the next time, oh yeah, remember last time I actually went and drank water a couple hours before I sang and it felt better. Maybe I should do that again. Maybe I should come back to singing later. I'm gonna go drink a bunch of water, come back in a couple hours. Because remember, you have to hydrate your whole body to hydrate your vocal folds. Fun fact. And that takes a couple hours. It's not immediate. So then you start seeing yourself making that choice over and over again, giving yourself better and better evidence that you can do the thing with the right environment. And then you find yourself in a positive feedback loop. Oh yeah, I did that thing. I'm going to keep doing that thing because it felt so dang good, right? So maybe this is just a very fancy way of saying do your dang warm-ups, people, before you sing. Because that is a very big problem for a lot of students. They don't wanna, and I get it. It's not the most fun thing in the world. However, it's very helpful. And as you start to see the changes that just a little bit of focused warm-ups can do for yourself and your voice and your mind and your whole nervous system, you'll start to want to do that more often. And it doesn't have to be boring every time. There's billions of vocal warm-ups on YouTube, you guys, for free. Mine are out there for you. I'm happy to send them to you if you want. Just send me a message. But also, just go searching for vocal warm-ups and find the ones that are your speed and your style, that don't make you want to vomit. It's really important to make sure that you are happy in this situation. Like, some vocal coaches will be like, no, don't use all those other warm-ups, just use mine because mine are correct. I don't care. Go use whatever makes you happy, just as long as you're warming up your voice and you're not trying to belt right after you wake up. Okay? That's an exaggeration, but all I care is that you're easing your voice into your vocal practice, whether that means talking a little bit, doing a couple vocal lip trills because you've been talking all day and you feel like your voice is plenty warmed up, or knowing that you haven't talked all day and making sure to do 15 minutes of good solid warm up so that you can come to your practice from a place of ease and stretched out and warm and lubricated and solid vocal resiliency. Yeah? Okay. I ended up talking a lot longer than I wanted to. I thought I would about that. So there you go. That's my little spiel for today. Warm up. Dang it. That's what I have to say. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I always appreciate the people that show up and hang out. If you have any questions before I go, I'm happy to answer them. Exciting news. Yeah, thanks for being here. So nice to see your name pop up. Exciting news. I will be opening another Vocal Magic cohort in November. So if you have been on the fence for other times, if you're curious about what that even means, send me a message or right down here in the comments. You can comment magic and I'll tell you all about it. I'll send you the details. It's going to be very similar to the last couple. Looking for a small cohort of about 6 to 8 people. And what we do is we come in and we work on this exact stuff together. We talk about why you don't want to warm up. We talk about why you can't hit that high D. We talk about why you are afraid every time you go on stage. And then over the course of 6 months, because this work is not an overnight fix, you and I work together on the specific things that you are dealing with. And inside of our happy little cocoon of people, of singers that are dealing with the stuff you're dealing with. We work through these things together so that you feel more comfortable singing in front of people. And you've gotten all this technique work and nervous system and mindset work at the same time, all along the same path, so that you don't all of a sudden burn out later down the road because you don't know how to treat your nervous system as a singer. So we're doing all of this very important work now at this crossroads for you, whether you're coming back to singing after a long time or you are just starting to want to share your voice with people. It's all very important to learn this stuff right now. If you're a professional singer, maybe you never learned this and it's helpful for you too. But most of the people in this cohort are not. They're very like amateur level, wanting to break into the professional world, maybe, but not always. Maybe you just want to feel better singing karaoke with your friends, you know. So that's happening. Let me know if you are interested at all. If that sounds like you, if you're somebody who has taken a while to get back into singing after a long time, if you're curious, just DM me and I will see you very soon. Okay. Mwah.